Hi everybody, it's Sue. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you how to remove acrylic nails the right way, a good way, the proper way, the way that will help prevent any nail damage. So the first thing that you're going to do is shorten the length of the nails to your desired length. She has a bit of, her natural nails have grown out quite a bit, so we're going to remove the excess length of acrylic up until the length of her natural nails, which they've grown out quite a lot, so she does have a lot of free edge left. So after we've removed the length, we are going to go in with this extra coarse carbide bit and just start filing away at the acrylic. You're going to do this pretty much all over the nail. You definitely want to keep moving around, don't want to stay in one spot for too long. This is an extra coarse carbide bit, so it is very sharp, so you have to be careful in general when using carbide bits, especially as you start to get closer and closer to the natural nail. Since this is clear acrylic, it is kind of difficult to see on camera exactly where the acrylic is and where her natural nail is, and even in real life it's kind of hard to see. But what you don't see in the video is I'm moving her fingers around, moving her hands around, and looking at her nails at different angles so I can see where there is excess acrylic and where there is not that much acrylic. So in the areas where there's a lot of acrylic, of course I'm going to use the bit and remove that acrylic, and then once I start getting closer and closer to the natural nail, I will leave those areas alone. So on this middle finger here, I'm going in a downward motion first, kind of like a vertical motion, and then I'll go towards the cuticle area and then go in a horizontal motion to remove the acrylic. And I kind of just repeat these two steps depending on where the acrylic needs to be shaved down some more and where the acrylic needs to be left alone, because I've already reached a pretty thin spot. I just wanted to point out and say that when you're removing acrylic with the carbide bit, you're going to want the e-file on a pretty high speed. The speed depends on the actual e-file you have, because, I mean, again, that just depends on which e-file you have, but for me, I'm using the Koopa Passport Pro, and so the speed I'm using is, I think it's like at half speed, or I think a little bit over half speed, so it's going pretty fast. And with the e-file running this high, you definitely need to be kind of like working, how do you say, like kind of like quickly, not necessarily quickly, but you just have to keep moving. If you do not keep moving, the teeth from the carbide bit is just going to shave off so much acrylic in one spot, and not only will you get a heat spike from all the friction in that one spot from the teeth spinning so fast and not moving the entire bit, but you can also accidentally shave down to the natural nail and hit her natural nail. So again, just keep moving, moving in different areas and different spots. Look at the nail from a bunch of different angles so you can see which parts are bulky, which parts are thin, and that'll give you a clue to where you need to file and where you don't need to file. So once you filed off as much acrylic as you could, or as much acrylic as you're comfortable with filing, you are going to take one of these manicure bowls, fill them up with acetone, and put her hand in the acetone. So while this hand is soaking in the acetone, you're going to repeat those same steps on this hand, on her other hand. So as of right now, her other hand still does have all the acrylic on it, the length, everything. So while this hand is soaking, you are going to move to the other hand and, you know, remove the length, start removing the acrylic with the e-file, and so on and so forth. And then you're going to come back to this hand once that other hand is finished, if that makes sense. So by the time that you're done removing the length of the nails from the other hand, and, you know, filing the acrylics with thin layer on that other hand, you can go ahead and switch. So what you're going to do is take your client's first hand and start remove her, not her whole hand from the acetone, but one finger at a time, like I'm doing here. You want to keep the other finger soaking because if you take them all out, all the acrylic is going to start to dry and stuff, and it's going to be kind of messy and whatever. So go ahead and work on one finger at a time. I'm starting on her pinky, so I removed her pinky finger from the acetone, and then all her other fingers are still in the bowl. I am scraping off the acrylic really gently. At this point, you don't have to use too much force or too much pressure because, again, we filed down the acrylic to a very thin layer, so there's not much acrylic there to begin with, and then the nails have been soaking in the acetone for quite some time as you're working on the other hand. So by the time you take out each finger of the acetone should have had enough time to how do you say, like, break down the acrylic. And so now it should be very easy to just gently scrape off the acrylic off the natural nail. So I want to take this time out to talk about the difference between EMA acrylic liquid and MMA acrylic liquid. I think we all know what the difference is, but for those of you that don't know, EMA acrylic liquid is the monomer liquid that we are supposed to be using for acrylic nails. MMA liquid is an alternative liquid that some people use for acrylic nails. However, MMA acrylic liquid was not meant and is not was not meant to be used on acrylic nails. It is actually used for dentures. It's used in a dentist's office for you know, for like teeth and things like that. But some nail techs and some salons do use MMA acrylic nail liquid regardless of this fact because it is cheaper than the EMA liquid, which is the acrylic liquid that is meant and intended for the use for acrylic nails. So one of the ways to know that you have MMA acrylic on your nails, or that the client has it on their nails, is that when we start to remove the acrylic in this fashion, when you try to soak it off, instead of the acrylic getting kind of like crumbly and just coming off the nails after it's been soaking for a while, the MMA acrylic has a very like gummy, sticky texture. So that's how you'll know the difference between the two. And the reason why no one should be using MMA acrylic on the natural nail is, one, it's not intended for that use, and two, in order to get the MMA acrylic to adhere to the natural nail, you have to file the natural nail so much, rough up the nail so much so that the MMA acrylic can adhere to the nail. Not only that, but MMA acrylic is very, very hard. Keep in mind its intended use is to be used for teeth. So if you hit your nail against something, hit your hand against something, your whole nail is going to break off with that MMA acrylic on there. So now I'm going to just wipe off the nails. They're all pretty clean. Most of the acrylic is off. If there is any, then we can go ahead and deal with that later. So now I'm going to switch hands. So the other hand is soaking in the acetone right now. And I just want to jump back into what I was saying before about the MMA. So again, MMA is a very hard substance, supposed to be used for teeth. Our teeth are bone. It's like the hardest, you know, the bone is like the hardest like substance in our body or whatever. So yeah, it's a very, very hard substance. So if you have that on your natural nail and you end up hitting your hand or something hitting your nail, your entire nail, natural nail and all, is going to break with that MMA acrylic on there if that happens. Long story short, do not use MMA acrylic liquid for nails at all. No excuses. That is meant for the dental industry. Leave it for the dentist to use. And us nail techs, nail enthusiasts, we need to be using the EMA acrylic, because the intended use of EMA acrylic liquid is to use on the natural nails. and nail extensions. So as you've seen, after this hand has soaked off in the acetone and we scraped it all off, we're going to go in with our hand file and just file the nails, her natural nails now, to the length and shape that the client likes. After we've got our length and shape, we're going to go in with a medium sanding band and start to just, file away any excess acetone, or not excess acetone, any excess acrylic that might have been left on the nail. Remove like any ridges or anything like that. Remove, just get the nail, prep the nail so it can be, nice and clean and ready for the next service, whether that might be like polish or another acrylic set. So speaking of another set, I also want to address the topic of how often one should get new sets or new acrylic sets. Honestly, if the acrylic is done properly, like the prep was done properly on the natural nails, the acrylic was applied properly and everything, and you don't have a lot of lifting or much lifting at all, you can keep your acrylic nails on and just keep getting fills for as long as you want. I don't find it necessary to remove nails, every month or every 2 months or whatever, and having that strict time period to remove them. You really only need to remove the acrylic nails if they're lifting so much that it doesn't make sense to like do a fill over it. Sometimes acrylic nails, if they're not done properly, they'll all just start to lift, and at that point you might as well just take it all off and start over versus just keep doing the fills. But a lot of clients ask me like, oh, I want to take these nails off and get a new one done because I don't like how they were done by the other person. And then I look at their nails, and the only thing that's really wrong with the nails is that there's some lifting, and the shaping needs to be it needs to be like reshaped or something like that. But in general, acrylic nails are a very long-lasting nail enhancement. So you really don't need to take them off and put them on. You only need to take them on and off every so often. You don't have to do it all the time. And you definitely don't want to do it all the time because, again, to put acrylic nails on, you have to, file the nails and file the natural nails, and take them off. You're going to end up filing the natural nails as well. So you definitely don't want to do too much of that because, again, over filing the natural nails is what's going to cause your nails to become really thin and weak and brittle, and that's where the damage is going to come from. Continuing with the manicure, I'm going to use this fine diamond ball bit to exfoliate, the cuticle area and her sidewalls, per usual. So after this step, we're just going to dust off the excess dust and debris on the nails. We're going to go ahead and cleanse the nails with some alcohol and a manicure brush. And then you can go ahead and do whatever you want to do with the nails. Either leave them like this, or in my case, I did a base coat and top coat and just left them as so. You can, continue with the color, whatever you want to do. But as you can see, we successfully removed this client's acrylic nails, and her natural nails look awesome. So, as always, thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye!